Well, hi everyone. Hey, thank you so much for joining me on my podcast today. I really appreciate it. Be sure you follow me on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and of course on YouTube. And if you find this information interesting and helpful, please hit like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. So today I'm bringing you numbers, stats from what the housing market has done so far this year, both locally and nationally. And I think you're going to find it very interesting that we are pre-pandemic numbers, and you'll see as we go along what I mean by that. These stats, I want you to know, they come from me personally, realtors across the country. We all put money, I wish, we all put stats of listings into the local MLS board and the MLS database, and that's across the country and in all of the board of realtors in all the different cities and counties. So that's where the National and the California Association of Realtors go to do these stats and compile them. So for instance, for an example, when I have your house as a listing, I put it into the MLS where it's active and it goes out to Zillow and all these other places, right? Well, through the listing process, if I mark it pending, and especially at the end when I mark it sold, it goes into that database as sold, and it shows you days on market, what it sold for, all of the details about that so that they can look at all these numbers and compile them. And what we do is we look at over the years, so it gives us an idea, oh, here's what the market was doing then, here's what it's done all these years up to now. And the information I'm bringing you is important because we're back to pre-pandemic numbers, which makes a difference. Now, you have a lot of people, I know there's a lot of confusion out there. There's a lot of clickbait that's saying, honestly, recently, that the housing market, the prices have gone down 50% with Warren Buffett's face on it, which, I'm not here to bash social media and all that. There's good stuff about it, but you just have to be careful, right? There's other headlines just 2 days ago that buyers are backing out of contracts right and left. Sellers have given up. And you will really like this one. Okay, this is a real little headline that came up that realtors are pounding the pavement to get a job, to get a paycheck every day because they just don't have a job now. I mean, that's not me. I don't think you've seen me at Burger King or someplace like that. So some realtors maybe, but none of this is true. It's all clickbait. They want to rev you up and get you all, who can get you the most revved up on these headlines that they don't even care are true or not. I don't understand all that. You click on them, you get paid. I don't know how that works. I don't know how it works. I don't care because none of it is true. I'm bringing you real live stats that aren't out of my head, aren't AI, actual stats like I explained where they come from. So getting off my soapbox and let's get to the meat and potatoes of this whole thing. So inventory. Okay, so we heard 50% less houses, 50%, everything's going down. Okay, so in this particular, on these particular numbers, the active listing count in the US, that's active listings per year. In 2019, the reason I'm going back to 2019 is because it's hard to remember before COVID, right? But in 2019, we had a moderate market, neutral market, which I'll explain later. But in 2019, July 2019, we had 1.24 million active listings. Why is that important? Because you can see when you look at this that when COVID hit, everything went down. The listings went down, the inventory went down. Why? People were afraid to put their homes on the market because of COVID. People were afraid to go into homes. So our listing inventory went drastically down, as you can see. So the lowest it went to was 547,000 houses. Here in San Luis Obispo County, I was talking to you during COVID and we only had 500 listings or less through the entire county. So that's what COVID did. It took everything down, and then you can see it goes up. And what's important here is as of July 2025, we have 1.1 million listings in our inventory so far in 2025. That's projected to go up by the end of the year, but you could see that we're close to those pre-pandemic numbers, and that's super important to know. It's not going down. People aren't getting out of the market. So it's a very robust market moving forward. It's just a more moderate market. And in SLO County right now, we have 2,200 listings throughout the county. So that is way up from the other data that I shared with you during COVID. So that's important to know. Active listings are out there and doing well. The existing home sales, okay, this is another group of numbers, right? The sales have gone down, 50% down, et cetera, et cetera. So existing home sales, again, 2019 is the year I'm showing you because that was before COVID hit. And that's where the numbers are really going to. So in July of 2019, we had 5.34 million existing home sales for the whole year. Now, this is when I mark your home sold. These are sold, closed escrows. So 5.34 million were in 2019. Now you can see clearly with COVID, yes, the sales shot up because we had this much inventory and this many buyers. So throughout the whole country, as many sales as they could get, the people were moving in from the urban areas into the smaller areas like San Luis Obispo County. So you see that those existing sales shot up. Now, when you go back to the last numbers, you can see when COVID hits and all these numbers happen that are crazy and wild, that's not going to last. The pandemic caused all of those things for different reasons. Now you see, as we go in and come to 2025, we're at 4.16 existing home sales, and that's so far 4.16 million as of July this year. That's projected to be much higher at the end of the year. So if the existing home sales were going down 50% or more, that number would not be where it is. And you can see we're under, of course, 2019. But by the end of the year, it's projected to be around 5 million in closed sales. So what I'm doing here is I'm debunking all the false information out there, right? So you can see home sales are doing well. Active listing inventory is good. This is the next part of the puzzle that can be a little bit weird for people. Okay, so existing listing monthly supply. So this is how many listings we have out there, and they calculate that by months supply. So for instance, once again, in 2019, we had 4.4 months of inventory on the market. That is a normal, moderate market. Many of you may know, maybe you don't know, 6 months or more of inventory out on the market is a buyer's market. When you've got that much, you've got a bunch of listings, not a lot of buyers, and the listings sit for a while. Back in 2019, we had 4.4 months of inventory, which is a neutral, moderate market, which benefits both buyer and seller. Then you can see, bam, COVID hits, and we have 2.6 months, 3 months. That's all a seller's market right there, and it certainly was. Things could not come on the market fast enough. Many of you I was working with during that time, you had to come see one house, maybe 24 hours later there was another one, and maybe 2 weeks later there was another one. In San Luis Obispo County, it was like 5 days on the market is all the inventory we had. So it went nuts. Okay. But then coming out of that, you can see now in 2025, July 2025, we have 4.7 months of inventory. Once again, it's a moderate market. It is not a buyer or seller's market. We're back to that moderate market. And I know when things are going so hot and heavy, so crazy, so fast, when things go back to a normal, moderate market, it feels like everything is slowed down. And that's just not the case. It can feel that way, but you see that the numbers are telling us something different, right? So right now, we have 4.7 months of inventory. That should stay the same through the year. And we do have about that amount, maybe a little bit more towards 4 in San Luis Obispo County. So this next set of numbers is where psychologically, you can kind of get going, what is going on here? Because days on market, okay? The average days on market, and by the way, these are all averages across the United States, right? This is the average out. And locally, it can be faster, slower, and in some markets, it's different, right? But these are averages across the United States. We go back to 2019, 27 days on the market was your average days on market for a turnkey residential property. I'm not talking about acreage. I'm not talking about multi-million-dollar properties. Those are a different buyer, a different group of homes. This is just your average single-family home, 27 days on the market. Then you see COVID hits, bam, the average day is 14 days on the market at the very lowest. Here in San Luis Obispo County, literally, could be 24 hours. right? So it was very, very fast moving back then. Then we come into the other years here, and now in 2025, we're 27 days on the market again, just like 2019. A regular, typical market. But it can all feel very slow when it's only been 14 or 16 days. And you say, well, why is my house not selling? Why isn't it going quickly? This is a moderate market. It's normal. And you might sit there a little longer depending on if your home needs a little work and it's not turnkey or move-in ready. So as you can see, the days on market, there they are. 27 days on market, just like pre-pandemic times. Again, you have to look at the numbers and what's real here. The other thing you're going to find interesting is the median home price. So the median home price is across the country what it is. And when you see these numbers, like 2019, the average median home price across the country was $315,000. And if you're in California, you're going, that doesn't even buy you a shack. It doesn't even buy you a shed in the backyard, right? Our median home price was at least twice, well, not twice that. We were probably back then around close to 500,000 on our median home price in San Luis Obispo County. But you see this was an average across the United States. So then it goes up, up, up. It shot up because why? The listings were low, low inventory, low interest rates, hardly anything for buyers. All these buyers, this much inventory, and the median shot up to 449 there in 2022, excuse me. Now you see the median home price has gone up on average across the country as of July to 439, 450. Now that's across the country. In California and in San Luis Obispo specifically, in our county, the median home price is $890,000. That's our median home price. So if prices are coming down and everything's going to heck, that median home price would not be going up, right? The other thing that you have to remember, you see that homes are being price reduced, right? Price reductions. There are so many reasons for price reductions that you cannot pinpoint exactly. Now, the average, I will say, the average or the biggest reason for them is because a seller will stay too high, too long out on the market and not lower the price where it should be. There are other reasons. You have to look individually at each home, because there could be that it was an escrow and there maybe was repairs that had to come on at a lower price. All kinds of reasons. But price reductions are not indicative of the market crashing. But somebody, somewhere, they'll take one city, one instance, look at the 5 price reductions this house had on it, and then that's the way it is across the country according to the clickbait. But that clearly, as you can see, these are real numbers, is not happening. So when you see price reductions, you have to say, okay, let's ask Cindy, the expert in our area, what's happening with that house? And now I've had some of you do that. Hey, what's the deal with this house? Because I think you get it. Price reductions do not mean the housing market's crashing. But then some people are going to think that and get all crazy with it, right? So you got to remember that. Got to remember that. Last but not least, we have mortgage rates. Now, there's all kinds of good news about mortgage rates right now. But if you listen to some of the naysayers, the crash is coming, it's here. Mortgage rates are going to shoot up. Just watch and see. That is not what's happening. In fact, if you look back to 2019, like you see here, we were at, and you forget, we were at 3.75% on the 30-year mortgage back in 2019. Now that was projected to go up. But what happened? Bam, COVID hits. And of course, the government has to step in. Nobody knew what was happening. I personally thought my career was over. Okay. Nobody knew. So here go the interest rates because everyone's afraid everything's going to come to a halt. Now, people did take their house off the market. Like I said, buyers were afraid to see houses. And so the inventory went bam, down, but the interest rate was so low. People now were scrambling. Let's get in this market. People coming out of the urban areas into our small areas. Let's get something for that interest rate. So it went crazy, crazy, crazy. So then it shot up again, right? After, got through COVID, got through all that stuff. It went up to 6.81 in 2023. And you see it's gradually gone up since then. Now we peaked out late 2023, mid to late 2023, in 8.1% interest rates. They had to get a hold of inflation. we peaked at inflation at 9%. It was crazy. It was the fastest and most that the Feds have ever raised the interest rates in history, trying to get a hold of inflation. And it worked. Everything, though, came to a chug and a stop because of it. So as of July, the interest rate for a 30-year mortgage was 6.72. As of this recording, which we're recording this September 2025, the interest rate is 6.49% now, and the 15-year is 5.67. So that's right now. Now the interest rates have come down on their own, and there's a lot of reasons for that. If you go to my podcast, episode 2 with Zoe Rathel, the local lending expert, she goes into detail on how those interest rates are affected and why they come down, even though the Feds have not made a cut. I came to you in 2023 saying, and it was projected we were going to have 4 federal interest rate cuts in that year. Well, they pulled out of that because of inflation. And inflation, they're trying to get a hold of it. As of right now, inflation this month, it's 2.67. They want to see it closer to 2. It's gone kind of down and then kind of up. It's at least under 3, and that's good. So that's not making those rates go up or stay up as long as they were. But again, if you go to that episode, Zoe goes into good detail about that, episode 2 of my podcast. So it is projected that those rates are going to continue to come down, right? If everything stays the same. That's what I always have to tell you, right? So now 6.49% for a 30-year fixed mortgage. The other thing I need to tell you, though, is those interest rates are not one size fits all. It depends on your credit score, your debt to ratio, your income. Okay, so sometimes that rate is not going to be the prime rate, 6.49. It's going to be different on your individual situation. That's why you got to sit down with a lender and know your numbers. I don't believe that is showing you that, that the interest rates are going up so high that everyone's just, everyone's vanishing. The listings are off the market, that realtors are, you're going to see me bagging groceries. I don't know, all that kind of stuff. That's just not happening. And in this last slide or so, it shows we're in a neutral market. I want to explain that. Neutral or moderate, regular, normal real estate markets. Here's what they do. You have the interest rates are decent. There's listings for buyers to choose from, and the home prices are not tanked. So the home prices are where they should be, or higher. There's a lot of listings for the buyers to choose from. So both buyer and seller are benefiting from what the market's doing. That is a neutral market, right? Remember, 6 months or more is a buyer's market, 3 months and under is a seller's market. So that is where we are right now. It's a very neutral market across the United States. Now, real estate is regional. You will have some areas that are higher or lower or experiencing issues that the rest of the country isn't. But on average, we are back to a neutral, normal real estate market. And like I said, it feels funky when everything was going hot and heavy. Things have to moderate. Things have to cool off, right? Real estate goes like this, as does the stock market. Doesn't go in a straight line. So hot, cold, buyer's market, seller's market. That's what real estate does. And now we're in a moderate market. You got to ignore the negative and the clickbait. That's just not true. So here's what it looks like as we're going in and towards the end of 2025. It's projected that the existing home sales, now this is homes closed sales, will be up by 3% by the end of 2025. The new home sales, new construction, by the way, is up as well. It took a little bit of a back seat. Tariffs, nobody knew what was going to happen. The cost of goods are up. Even here in Paso Robles, we have a new subdivision out in Lene Road. We're seeing more new homes being built, but new home sales should be up about 5% by the end of 2025 and into 2026. The median home price is projected to increase across the country by 1%. 1%. Then mortgage rates, and they're already coming down from this, are projected by end of 2025 to be hovering between 6.2 and 6.5%. They're already under 6.5. And of course, if everything stays the same, we'll be in that lower sixes. Now, into 2026, they're looking at that rates being in the five somewhere. Once it hits, higher fives, mid 5% on those 30-year fixed mortgages, you're going to see there will be, and this is a stat, at least 1.5 million more buyers will be able to qualify for a home loan across the country. So buyers will have more competition. There'll be multiple offers on things in 2026. Again, if everything stays the way it's going now. So again, all these numbers don't lie. If you have questions about any of this, you let me know. You hear something out there you think's bogus, I'm the expert. I should know these numbers. My job is not just to sell your home when you list it or sell you a home as a buyer. I should know this stuff. This is stuff I should be bringing you. It's important for you as buyers and sellers to know the real story, the real numbers, and make your decision about your real estate goals based on what's real and not on fear, not on numbers that aren't real, not on things that aren't really going on. Fear, I think Zig Ziglar said this, fake evidence appearing real. It's just not. And it's important to me that you know what's real to make your decisions, like I said, for your real estate goals. We could sit down, we can go over your numbers, we can talk about buying and selling, but you have got to have the right numbers from an expert. I always say that I'm a busy realtor, and that's what you should have. I'm not saying I'm too busy to talk to you or I'm too busy to help your family and friends. I'm busy and I know the market and I'm bringing you real numbers. I know, I'm pretty passionate about it. End of that. I really appreciate you all joining me today. Please share this podcast with anybody you think would like to know this information and you think it would be helpful. Any questions, contact me. In the meantime, thank you. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it.